Good evening. My name is Mishal Kano. While I'm not a Palestinian, I feel as close as I can get to be a Palestinian. And I feel very strongly about this argument, both from every aspect you're talking about it, from the legal aspect of it, from the political aspect of it, and even from the military aspect of it. And as a student of the history, and I'm listening to what you're saying, and I'm pretty sure from what you've covered, if you're talking from the time, which is pre-1890, I believe, to current, you would have hit many historical points. Without really boring you to death with what I wanted to say, I'm just trying to think from a pragmatic point of view. I hate saying it from a realistic point of view because it depends on how you look at it in terms of realism. I am slightly leaning towards being pessimistic because I cannot see, and maybe I'm wrong, and maybe you have seen something that I have not seen. I cannot see any mitigating circumstance that pushes the state of Israel, irrespective of which political party is there, to at one point or another come and say, you know what, even though this is something we are willing to do, we will do it. At every opportunity that they had to deal with the Palestinians, and even though the Palestinians at all points, irrespective of the government, were more than happy to give up lots, did give up lots. And yet at the same time, you still saw the Israelis not giving up anything. And I cannot see any force or any reason for them to give it up. Now, if you've seen anything from what you've read historically to counter what I've said, I would love to hear it.
Thanks. I understand your pessimism. I guess the only optimism I have, or the only thing that I've seen in recent years that gives me grounds for optimism, is a change in public opinion, at least in the West or in the United Kingdom and even in the United States, a better understanding of what's happening in Palestine, and also, and I'm talking about people who are not linked to the region, who would otherwise have no interest in it, are genuinely interested in it, and are horrified of what they saw in Gaza and in Lebanon. And they do want to know more about it, and they're, students march, demonstrate, write letters. But I think these things have a small impact, and will have more of an impact in decades from now, when these people may be in positions to influence, maybe in government or in positions to influence government when they are slightly older. So I think that there is a generational gap, and I think younger audiences are more interested, and take a tougher line, at least, or view perspective towards Israeli policies. So it gives me a little bit ground for optimism in that regard, but not much more, I'm afraid.
Abdullah Al-Wahidi, you broke my heart actually when you said, get the Arabs to be more proactive. Just a follow-up on the gentleman's question here. How can this happen? I mean, the last example we had of Arabs getting together was the Doha summit and the Kuwait summit about Gaza. It was a total failure, and nobody was able. They were not able to agree actually, because unfortunately of different agendas. Having such different agendas among the Arabic countries, how would they be able to become, let's say, proactive and be able to get together and forget about the differences and do something about this conflict? To be honest, I'm like Mishal, I've lost hope in the whole operation. I say, just sign an agreement with the Israelis and forget about the whole thing. I think it's better and easier, and everybody can live in peace if the Israelis are willing to do that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, the problem is the Israelis don't want to, or the Israelis and the Palestinian Authority can't even agree to start talking because of the position of the Israeli government, which is they are refusing to build settlements, and the Palestinians, I think, for the first time have taken a principled stance, which is, we're not going to talk to you unless you stop building settlements, which they should have done a long time ago, I think. The Arab countries, well, they have, to give them credit, again, in the War Advisory Opinion, they did get together, and they did get a legal team together, and I think it was a very successful outcome, and they got a good vote through the UN General Assembly. Maybe there needs to be more communication between I don't know, the civil society in the West, and perhaps Arab governments. I know, having spoken to former anti-apartheid activists, that apparently the ANC was in constant communication with, and African governments were in constant touch with the protest movements in the UK and in the United States. There was a conversation between the two, and which helped influence policy and the course of their struggle, in which they succeeded. And I think that might be one way of going forward, I guess.